How's it going, everybody? This is Mike. Welcome back to my channel. I'd like to respond to a horror tag that was put out by my friend James, DVD Collector 1974, and also there are two chat topics going around. One from Jay, which is his name is Blu-ray Collector 1971. He put out the topic, name your top 10 horror films, or maybe he put it as just 10 of your favorite horror films, but I'm taking it as a top 10. So, and Harry Benson, Macro Photos, also put out a chat topic naming his top 10 silent horror films. So, Harry, I'm going to respond to yours first. I've already responded in print underneath your video. I only own maybe 4 films that I would consider to be silent horror films. My silent movie collection is very, very small, actually, so I don't have that many. But so I'm not going to take part in your chat topic because I don't have 10 that I can name. So please forgive me. I'll try to catch your next chat. Now, as far as James Horror Tag, his first question is name your top 5 horror movies, top 5 favorite. So I'm going to combine that question with Jay's chat topic and just give you my top 10 horror films. So if you guys don't mind, that way I can cover all these bases at once. All right, top 10 favorite horror films. This has been my favorite since I rose from the dead in the 17th century. Black Sunday, absolutely. I've talked about this 1,000 times. And then in no particular order, I'm just going to show you my other top 10. The original Dracula, Bela Lugosi, The Pit and the Pendulum, The Haunting, House on Haunted Hill, still love that movie. The original Frankenstein, The Uninvited, one of my favorite ghost stories, with also very beautiful music. The Innocents from 1961, and Ghost Stories from 2017. If you still haven't seen this, please pick it up. It is absolutely incredible. And then finally, another Barbara Steele classic, Castle of Blood, her other vampire movie. All right. So those are my top 10 horror movies, and let me get to the rest of the questions here. Let's see. First horror movie that I saw, I'm not sure if it's House on Haunted Hill, which I know we went to see in the theater, my family and I, or it may have been on television when I saw Son of Dracula from 1943. And yeah, so I really can't remember which one came first, quite frankly. It was all about the same time. Favorite movie monster? Okay, this is something nobody else has talked about. I like the monsters from The Green Slime, this really bizarre science fiction horror movie. Terrific monsters, and they just multiply like, well, like Alien, quite frankly. But yeah, that was a cool movie. All right, favorite type of horror? Absolutely gothic horror, like the Edgar Allan Poe films from the early 1960s. Anything that has to do with wandering around an old dark house or an old castle with a candle and looking down black and white hallways. Doesn't have to be black and white, but yeah, definitely gothic horror. All right, Jason, Freddy, or Michael Myers? Well, this is fairly easy. Freddy is out of the equation altogether. I have never seen any of the Nightmare on Elm Street films, and I really don't think I ever will. I have no interest in them, quite frankly. As far as Michael and Jason, I saw the first Halloween, didn't see the others. I like that movie very much. It was a very scary film. Jason, I saw the first Friday the 13th, and I think I saw part of the second. I would pick Michael Myers because I like in that first movie the way they showed that little kid and the way they made him. Yeah, they did that very well. So yeah, Michael Myers definitely. All right, here we go. Pick a horror movie and have dinner with the entire cast. Well, I would choose one of my favorite films, The Pit and the Pendulum. Now, the director, Roger Corman, is not part of the cast, but I would definitely have him over for dinner with everybody else. Roger Corman is still very much with us at the age of 93. It would be wonderful to sit down with that guy and just listen to him tell stories about his career and all the people that he worked with and all of his movies. That would be fascinating. I would love to meet him. Top bill, Vincent Price, who is no longer with us. What can I say? It would be such a pleasure just to hear this man speak. He could talk about anything, and I would be just in awe. Second build to him is an actor named John Carr, who was also no longer with us. He was a very interesting person. He won a Golden Globe for a play called Tea and Sympathy, and he also played in the movie version, made several films, did a lot of television, and sometime in the 1960s, John Carr made a decision to go to law school, and he became a lawyer. He was a lawyer till the day he died. I can't remember exactly when he died now, maybe 10, 12 years ago. But he would also, during those years, he would occasionally take a part in some TV show or a small part in the film. So really interesting guy. I'd love to. I've read an interview from him. He was a very intelligent and very funny guy. Next up, of course, is Barbara Steele. I've met her briefly twice, and it was a joy to just be that close to her. But I would love to sit down and just listen to her speak, that beautiful voice, and talk about all of her experiences and things that matter to her, how she feels about films and all that sort of thing. Next up is an actress named Luana Anders, who is no longer with us. She died very young at the age of 54. Luana Anders is a very interesting actress. Goes all the way back to the 1950s. She was a very close friend of Jack Nicholson. They sort of came up together as working in low-budget films, people like Roger Corman. Luana Anders also did a very good supporting part in Easy Rider, and she became a writer and a director. I would love to sit down and talk with her. She was really interesting. And the last one in the cast is a man named Anthony Carbone, who is also, according to Wikipedia, still with us at the age of 94. Now, Anthony Carbone made several films, did a lot of television, and later on in his life became a stage manager, and really interesting actor. Every once in a while I will put on some old TV show and I'll see him doing a part that is just totally unlike this Shakespearean person he was playing in The Pit and the Pendulum. I bet he was a really interesting guy to talk to. Also worked for Roger Corman a couple of times. So yeah, that would be my choice of people I would love to have dinner with. If you could meet any horror icon, dead or alive, who would it be? I would like to meet Bela Lugosi. Just the chance to stare into those eyes for a while and hear that voice, and yeah, I would really like to have met him. I'd like to meet Boris Karloff too. Christopher Lee, I'm not so sure. I think he was probably more, well, according to Barbara Steele, he was a lot more egocentric than a lot of the other people she worked with. So he may not be that nice to sit down and try to have a conversation with. Favorite kill in horror movie? Well, I would have to go along with what James and Jay both said about the killing of Marion Crane in Psycho. You can't top that. I know they're trying to, but you really can't. What horror movie would you like to go back and see on day one? I think it would be fascinating to go back and see Frankenstein, 1931, because the first time the monster appears on screen, the way they shoot it is so dramatic and so expressionistic. And I would love to see what people did when they first saw Boris Karloff's face, that close-up of that cadaverous white face. That would be fascinating. Let's see, what film would you show to someone who hasn't seen or doesn't like horror movies? And I think that I would probably show The Haunting, which I think is nearly a perfect film. And it is so unusual, and I think that it would be almost impossible for even people who don't like horror films not to react to that film and not to be taken in by it, but the way that they do it. It's a fascinating film. Next up is Best Remake. Okay, I would say the best remake is the 1977 or is it 78 version of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which of course remade this nearly perfect 1950s film. I love them both. I mean, this is incredible because of the way it expands everything and the special effects. I'm not a special effects freak, but they did theirs very well. Okay, has there ever been a film that frightened you? This one, 1976, The Tenant, scared the living daylights out of me. It's just so bizarre. There's just nothing else like this. Roman Polanski directed and also stars in it. Shelley Winters, Isabelle Adjani, Joe Van Fleet. Really an incredible film. Now, I saw this many years later when I bought this. I hadn't seen it in all those years. And I was waiting to get some of the same feeling that I had back in 1976. And I didn't. So in a way it was kind of a letdown, but I should have known that you can't go back to that kind of reaction again. Next up, let me see. Okay, this goes to my fellow YouTube friends here. If all 5 of us met, James, Harry, Ian, Jay, and myself, if we met somewhere in the world, what movie would I bring and what snack would I bring for all of us to enjoy? The movie that I would bring, absolutely, Beach Party. Not because it's a horror film, but because I would like to see the horrified look on Ian's and James' faces when I pull this out, because I know how much they love the beach party genre. I think that Harry and Jay would probably enjoy this, but the other guys, I don't think so. Now, as far as what snacks I would bring, well, of course, I would bring Kraft macaroni and cheese, especially if it's made in Champaign, Illinois. You just can't go wrong. I mean, who needs popcorn when you can have macaroni and cheese while you're watching a movie? It's also very nutritious. And then to drink, I would bring my last remaining bottle of rum, which of course has a little bit left in it, and I may not be able to finish it ever. But yeah, I would gladly hand this to the guys, especially Mr. Mountford, and he could enjoy this, and I could drink it vicariously through him. You know, sometimes I take this out of the cupboard and I just look at it. So someday, maybe. Next up, I can't read my own writing. Vampire or werewolf? Vampire, definitely. Much prefer vampire films. Hammer or Universal? Well, I love both, but I would have to say Universal. That's where it all started. And I love all the Universal films, even the ones that were more low budget and a lot less classic than the ones that were in the beginning. I still love them. What is the difference between... No, the next one is what horror film deserves a Criterion Collection release? I would say it's about time they did Black Sunday. I think that would be a really good thing to do. Maybe The Haunting. They haven't done The Haunting, have they? Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think they have, but yeah, that would be nice. What is the difference between horror and thriller? Well, for me, the difference between a horror film and a thriller would be that, in my opinion, a horror film needs to have some connection with the supernatural, whether it's vampires or ghosts or zombies, or it needs to have the possibility of the supernatural. And I'm thinking in terms of the first three Edgar Allan Poe films made by Roger Corman. We have The House of Usher, The Pit and the Pendulum, and we have Premature Burial. There was nothing supernatural going on in any of those films, but there was so much dread about people coming back from the dead, people being buried alive and coming back to haunt someone, that just the suggestion of it is fascinating. The way they surround it with all that incredible atmosphere. Thrillers, I think in terms of a thriller that was very frightening. One of my favorites is Experiment in Terror from 1961 or 62. A great, great thriller, which has a lot of very frightening moments, but I wouldn't call it a horror film, and that is just my opinion. Okay, favorite horror movie quote? Well, I came up with a couple of them. I like the line from Dracula, where right after Van Helsing has discovered that Dracula does not have a reflection in a mirror. And of course, Bela Lugosi freaks out and knocks the mirror out of his hand. Then he calms himself down and he starts to leave. And he turns around and he says, "For one who has not lived even a single lifetime, you are a wise man, Van Helsing." Great, great quote. Then, of course, there's Princess Ozza in Black Sunday from the American version, where she's about to make short work of the doctor down in the crypt. See, what does she say? She says, let's see, Crouvaillon, I've been waiting for you. I need you again. Just a few drops of your blood brought me back to life. All of your blood will give me the strength to accomplish my vengeance. Look into my eyes. That's the Italian version. Well, anyway, she says a lot of really cool stuff. She says in the American version, "Embrace me, you will die, but I can give you pleasures mortals cannot know." That's a pretty good line. Also, this great line from Vincent Price in Tomb of Ligeia, where he says with all seriousness, "Last night I tried to kill a cat with a cabbage." Think about it. Think about it. As far as taglines. Oh, one of the best taglines that I could find is from one of Barbara Steele's worst horror films, which is The She-Beast. And It says deadlier than Dracula, wilder than the werewolf, more frightening than Frankenstein. And it isn't. Not at all. Okay, thanks for watching 15 minutes of your life that I have just taken from you. Let me know what you think.